Welcome and thank you. Thank you all for joining us for our online academic orientation. This session is suitable for students entering the computer science field. And my name is Hans, and I'm a fourth year student studying computer science, and I'm joined with Professor Liu, who will further introduce himself. And Professor
Hi,
Liu, do you mind? Yeah.
sure. Hi, my name is David Liu. You can call me David. I'm a teaching stream professor in the Department of Computer Science. I've been here for about 5 years. I teach a bunch of courses in our departments, particularly like the first year level. This year, I'll be teaching our two new computer science courses, CSC 110 and 111, which are Foundations of Computer Science. And before this, I've taught CSC 148, Introduction to Computer Science, and CSC 165, Mathematical Expression and Reasoning for Computer Science, as well as some upper year courses as well.
What do you think incoming students should remember during their first year of university, just from your perspective as a professor?
So I would say that one of the biggest things to keep in mind is that university is about more than just academics. It's really easy to kind of fall into this trap of thinking, oh, I'm just gonna like work hard on my classes and kind of study 24/7 and kind of like stop taking care of yourself physically or mentally, stop like hanging out with your friends or disconnecting from your family. So I think like the number one thing to keep in mind is that like when you're here starting your first year at U of T, you're more than just like the classes you're taking and like the work that you're doing in those classes. You're still a whole person. And so part of that is just making sure that you're taking care of yourself, eating right, staying connected with friends and family, kind of like all the way through the year.
Ah, great. So on that note, do you have any general advice you'd like to share for, let's say, study habits, scheduling classes?
Sure, yeah. So like obviously I want to make sure that everybody is still taking care of themselves, their whole person. When it comes to the academic piece, probably one of the biggest adjustments that I see students going through in university in their first year is kind of getting used to the fact that they have both more freedom coming from high school, but also adjusting to usually a higher workload as well. And these two things kind of go hand in hand to create some challenges because it means that you have less structure in your life, but also more stuff to do. And you kind of need to work a bit harder yourself to kind of maintain or create that structure for yourself. So in terms of study habits, one of the big things that I would say is trying to keep a good schedule for yourself and sticking to that schedule. So you don't have to work 24/7 by any means, but if you plan out when you're going to be taking your classes, when you're going to be studying, and you actually stick to that, then you'll find that you are able to complete all your work and still have free time to do fun things, cook meals, hang out with your friends too. And the other thing that I would say related to that, oh, sorry, right. And the other thing that I would say related to that is because your courses are probably getting more work intensive, it's going to be way more important than probably your experience in high school to start early on your assignments, projects, on your studying. It's going to be a lot harder to cram and like finish a project the night before or just study a couple hours before the test and do as well as you're probably used to doing. So spreading out that work time, spreading out that studying time across several different days and several different weeks is going to be more effective for your academic success.
I feel like I should take notes. I'm still getting used to university in fourth year.
I
uh,
started to.
oh, wow. Okay, the next question is, what are office hours? And if students find them too intimidating, what should they do?
Yeah, sure. So this is definitely a big question that I get from a lot of first year students. So office hours are an opportunity for you, a student, to meet with your professor in a one-on-one or small group setting outside of regular class time. Um, Most students come usually to ask questions about the course, whether it's like a clarification for something that happened in lecture or they read in the course notes or textbook. Sometimes students want to ask questions about an assignment they're working on or a test that they're planning on studying for. But other times students just come because they're interested in the course material and they just want to learn a bit more and chat with the professor who's teaching them. And sometimes they even want to kind of like ask about advice or ideas or information about stuff that's not even related to the course. So I've had lots of conversations with students in all 4 years of university who just want to ask about what they're doing with their lives, what their next steps are, what are they thinking about doing for the following year after they graduate and so on. And I think one of the biggest things that feeds into the intimidation piece, the other part of your question, is I love that stuff, and it's not just me. If you're feeling intimidated about coming to office hours, remember that your professors are humans too. We're people just like you. We people who get really excited talking about the courses that we're teaching, the material that we're learning about or that we're researching and working on. We also, as part of our teaching, we like getting to know students as well. And office hours are some of the only times where we can interact with students in a one-on-one or small group basis. That's especially true in a lot of first-year classes that I teach, which are fairly large. And so, if you're thinking, I don't know if I want to go to office hours because I'm not sure what it's going to be like, and I don't know if the professor really wants to talk to me. We definitely want to talk to you, and it'll probably be a lot more fun and a lot more casual and informal than you might be expecting. And if you are still a bit nervous, the other tip that I would give is you can bring a friend as well. So I've had students come up to me, ask questions, and have a friend there who didn't really have any questions, sometimes wasn't even part of the class, but was kind of there for moral support, and we had a fun conversation anyway.
Wow. Yeah, I actually remember the first time I went to office hour to see Professor Diane Horton.
Oh yeah.
And then, cool. And then I was super nervous. The second time I went, it just felt like I've done it for 100 times, and there's no need to worry.
That's true. It also gets way easier the second time you do it as opposed to the first time. That's definitely true.
That's so true. And the next question is, would you encourage students to get involved in extracurriculars? And are there any curriculars relevant to computer science? So let's say I think the aviation club deals with drones, right? So do you know anything about those?
Yeah, sure. So I definitely recommend getting involved with some extracurriculars. That's, again, feeding into what I was saying earlier about trying to make sure that your U of T experience is about more than just academics. Extracurriculars are a great way of meeting other students, exploring interests that either are related to or even completely unrelated to the programs that you're interested in studying. And yeah, they're great. They're great. In terms of opportunities that are related to computer science, there's a couple different ones I can mention. So first of all, the Computer Science Student Union is kind of the big club for all computer science students. You're automatically part of it just by taking computer science courses. And they run events that are both social and academic events. So sometimes there will be impromptu study sessions. Sometimes there will be getting to know your profs in a coffee chat, or I think they call it tea time with profs. Sometimes there's board game nights or video game nights or pub nights. So kind of a lot of ways of getting involved with just kind of other computer science students. There's also more specialized computer science clubs. So most different areas in computer science, like artificial intelligence, computer graphics, theoretical computer science, these all have different student clubs that are usually run by upper year CS students who are just passionate about that area and want to give other students an opportunity to learn more and engage with those areas. So if you're interested in any field of computer science, chances are that there's a student club for it. And then what you mentioned, Hans, about aviation. So there's a bunch of different aviation and robotics type clubs on campus. Some of them are more recreational. Some of them are kind of more competitive in nature, in that you're actually working together on a team and going to inter-university competitions with your self-driving car, for example. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities like this, and they take students from all areas of the university and actually all age areas as well. So there are lots of first-year students who participate in these types of clubs as well, even the more kind of competitive ones, and it's a great way of getting involved.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that you can, I actually didn't know about the specific areas of computer science having clubs. So that's really good to know. Yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, CSSU has a Switch, Nintendo Switch. So yeah, so if you want to play on that Switch, you have to go early.
Nice, yeah. One other thing about the CSSU that I can say is it has a general store in the second floor of the Bayham Center, and that store sells like candy, some like pop, like soft drinks and stuff like that. But also they have like the best deal on campus, in my opinion, which is 50-cent ice cream sandwiches.
Oh,
So if
yeah.
you're ever looking for like a tasty, cheap, refreshing treat, 50-cent ice cream sandwiches at the CSSU office.
Yeah, that's actually the only reason I have coins.
Nice.
Yeah. One tip of success you would give to incoming students about about computer science? So there one thing that students always get wrong?
Sure. So I think the biggest thing, okay, it's hard to narrow down to just one. So probably
Oh,
like my number one tip though,
mhm.
is that computer science is a very skills-based discipline. And what that means is um, it's like the courses, and this is true in first year, but also in upper years, the courses are designed to kind of build up knowledge and skills incrementally, uh, where one week builds on the previous week and the previous weeks that came before it. And so you're not going to see a lot of computer science courses, certainly not in first year, where like every week is like a different topic and kind of like you could skip lecture one week, but then just totally jump right in the following week because it's a new chapter of your textbook and it's a different topic. Here, the weeks are so kind of like related to each other and the skills and knowledge build on top of each other so much and require practice and mastery so that like whatever you're learning in week 5 or week 10, like will require mastery of what you learned all the way back in week 1. And what that means is your courses, let me say that again. What that means is that it can be kind of easy to fall behind in a course without even realizing that you're falling behind. Just by missing one lecture or one week of material, it might seem like no big deal because it's only like one week in the grand scheme of things. But if the following week or the following 5 weeks depends on that one week, then if you go to lecture the following week, you might be completely lost. Or even if you feel like you're okay, there might be gaps in your knowledge you might even not know that you have. And so probably my number one tip is just trying to stay on track every single week. The courses that you'll be taking in first year in computer science will definitely kind of like give you supports in order to help you stay on track, but it will be up to you through, both discipline and a bit of self-organization to actually take advantage of those supports and stay on track so that you're keeping up with the material all the way through the course.
Yeah. I actually felt that. So like missing one week of class and then it's harder to catch. It's harder and harder to catch up. So
Yeah.
yeah, better just stay on track always.
Mhm.
So yeah. Okay, now I'll move on to the more computer science specific questions. And this one is for incoming students picking a calculus course. So let's say a student doesn't have any experience with proofs, and there are three options for them. MAT 135, 136, which is computation and applications only. MAT 137, which is proofs with only some applications, and 157, which is proof heavy. Which course should these students attend?
Right. So um, for a while now, our department has always recommended taking MAT 137 or MAT 157. And that's because the proof elements of those courses um, really, really serve you well in your computer science courses when you are expected to do proofs in those courses too. Uh, and so even though in our computer science courses, we do cover techniques of mathematical proof, often students report that by taking MAT 137 or 157 as well, they're kind of learning proofs in two different, like kind of from two different angles, from two different perspectives, and that really helps enrich their knowledge. Um, the, the choice between MAT 137 and 157 usually depends on whether students want an additional mathematical challenge on top of just standard learning how to prove things. MAT 157 is meant to be accessible to first year students. However, it really is meant as a way of helping students, it really is meant as a way to kind of like guide students towards usually a specialist in mathematics, if not a major in mathematics. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want that kind of like extra challenge in mathematical rigor, then I think 157 is a great course and a great challenging but rewarding experience. But if that's not something you're that interested in, if you want to do proofs but only for the sake of, say, studying computer science, then probably Mat 137 is a better choice for you. And that is the course that the majority of incoming computer science students take. And then just one more note about that, because it's an administrative note. So I'm kind of going a bit meta here, but this is important to get right for just like the students. And just so you know, if you're part of the computer science admission category and you have the first year computer science admission guarantee that you might have heard about, then that guarantee requires that you take Mat 137 or Mat 157 and complete that in your first year. So in fact, if you're in the situation where you have this admission guarantee, that's great. But in this case, you should be enrolling in either Mat 137 or 157, and you should not be enrolling in Mat 135 or 136.
Oh yeah, this is a new thing, right? I don't think I've dealt with it. Yeah,
it's new for this year, so that's why we're trying to like make sure that we're really clear on it, because it is a difference compared to previous years.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Next question is: will the same course offered in either semesters, fall and winter, vary in terms of material and difficulty?
Right. So again, here I'm going to give two slightly different answers. One that's specific to CSE 110 and 111 here I'm going to give two different answers, one that's specific to 110 and 111, and then one that's kind of like a more general answer for both first year CS as well as upper year courses. So for 110 and 111, we're actually offering these courses only once in the fall winter. So 110 will be offered in the fall and 111 will be offered in the winter. So this question doesn't exactly apply to those courses. For other computer science courses, both our first year courses and upper year computer science courses, I will say that even though they're two different offerings, the instructors for the courses in either semester tends to coordinate with each other quite a bit, both in terms of the material that they're teaching, which is very consistent from one semester to the next, but also in terms of assessments. And so even though there's always a little bit of variation, historically, for certainly CSE 108, 148, and 165, as well as a bunch of our second and third year courses, the grades have been very similar from courses that are offered in like the fall, winter, and even the summer term as well.
Okay, sorry, I just want to ask, so 110 and 111, does that used to be 148 and 165 and changed?
Right, yeah, so these are the new courses that I was kind of alluding to a bit earlier. As part of the changes that our department put in this year for the first year computer science admission category students, there's going to be both this admission guarantee as well as these new courses that I've been working with my colleague Mario Botter on developing. And these are CSE 110 and 111. So even though, so in the past, our students have taken CSE 108 and then CSE 148, 165 is like the three first year courses that kind of like gain them admission to the program. Now, those courses will still exist and they will still be a pathway into the program. However, for students admitted to the computer science admission category, they'll be taking CSE 110 and 111 with me and Mario instead. And these courses will be kind of like across the fall winter semester, across the fall and winter semesters, and they'll be a kind of like a streamlined computer science education that has the same content as 108, 148, 165, but is organized a little bit differently and coordinated by, I guess, me across the entire year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Now that's something I didn't know.
Sure.
Wow, that's news. Okay, so oh yeah, and I have another question for students who may take courses online in the fall.
Sure.
So will the delivery be, will we expect the delivery to be very different if the course is offered online? So
Yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
question. So we haven't gotten like any final or official word now. We're still in the process. Our entire department is still in the process of kind of like planning out our timetable and our offerings. But certainly, Mario and I are planning for at least the possibility, the maybe very likely possibility of offering these courses online next year, certainly in the fall. Um, I would say that in terms of delivery, what we're currently planning right now is, I think, uh, trying to um, trying to kind of provide sort of like the same kind of experience that you would get attending class in in person, even though it's online. So there's two different parts of that. One is we are still planning on having synchronous lectures, even if they are online instead of in person. So we believe that the lecture component, which is not just us standing at the front talking, but really kind of like this more interactive back and forth in which we talk for a little bit and then students work on problems either with like individually or in small groups, and kind of like, and then we take up those problems and then teach a little bit more and then students work on other problems. This type of active learning we find works really well, especially in like at the first year level where students like really need that hands-on experience. That style of learning, I think, and teaching is something that we really believe in, and we are planning on moving that online. So you can imagine that instead of us being in person, we might be using a video conferencing platform in which we teach for a little bit, and then we distribute some problems electronically, whether it's posted online or something that we share on a slide or a screen, and then students will work on that, and then we'll take that up. So that part we think is really valuable, and we still want to keep that. That said, we are also we also plan on recording those sessions as well, just in case there are students who are not able to make that particular time slot for some particular reason. And so as part of this, we're exploring technologies to make sure that we're still going to be able to record lectures and post them afterwards. The other piece that's really important to any course is, of course, the assessments. And that's something that we're exploring as well. So I should say that we normally in computer science have a lot of assessments which are done electronically anyway, that students can kind of work on outside of class. So all of our, for example, like weekly programming or proof type exercises, all of our assignments and problem sets, these are all components of our courses which are released online and students can submit online as well. So that part won't change. So with the assessment piece, a lot of that work is already kind of like is already online. And so we're not really gonna change that. And then the part that people are probably wondering about, myself and Mario included, are what we're gonna do for traditional pencil and paper tests, which might not be feasible in the same way that we've thought about before. So I can't make any promises right now because we're still in the process of planning this, but we're exploring options, including things like more open book or open-ended tests that can be administered electronically, or having like projects or more open-ended assignments that maybe take a bigger chunk of work and will take a bigger chunk of teaching assistant time to grade, but that might actually end up being a richer experience anyway. So again, I can't promise anything there. We're still like trying to figure out exactly what those assessments will look like, but definitely that's kind of like on our minds. It's something that's really important this summer.
Well, yeah, there are also definitely advantages to the delivery online. Let's say first year, I always had trouble seeing the blackboard from the back.
Right.
And then, if it's delivered online, then there won't be that kind of trouble.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to miss, again, nothing's for sure, I should say, as a disclaimer. I would still miss being in person. Like, I love interacting with students. I love that kind of classroom feel. And that is something that I would miss that I think we hope to be able to replicate online in a video conferencing platform. I don't think it'll be quite the same, unfortunately. But as a trade-off, there will be things that might be better. For example, really clear screen that I would be sharing that every student can just see because it's on their computer. And kind of one of the things that I guess I'm excited about there is also having potentially like an online chat that's happening concurrently with the lecture that might give more students an opportunity to ask questions during the during the class. Because one of the things that I notice a lot is that in my classes, people do ask questions, but often it's the same few students over and over again. And I know that there's more students out there with questions who are maybe a bit too shy to ask that question, or who don't want to like interrupt the flow of the class. And so what I've seen in my what I've seen with my relatively limited experience in online teaching so far is that there are more students who are willing to engage in that chat and ask questions and clarify their thoughts as the lecture is going. And that's actually something that kind of is sort of an unexpected but really nice kind of benefit of moving online, I think.
Well, let's move on to the next question, and that's for students starting the theory course. So should these students learn LaTeX, the markup language? For those who don't know, LaTeX is the markup language helpful for writing mathematical expressions.
Right, yeah, it's a great question. So, so I should say our course does not require like prior knowledge or prior experience with LaTeX. However, it is something that is either highly recommended or actually required in not just the first year courses, but upper year CS courses as well. And so it's kind of like, it's a language similar to a programming language that allows you to write these beautiful mathematical documents. And it's a really valuable skill for both your courses, but also if you're interested in computer science research later on, because that is sort of the language that's used to produce academic papers in computer science. So I would say that if you're looking for, if you have some free time this summer and you're looking for stuff to learn that maybe will help you prepare, LaTeX is an option. I would say that it's something that's fairly accessible to start writing simple documents, but then it's a very deep language as well, and you can spend a lot of time learning the ins and outs of the language. You won't need to go that far by any means for these courses. So I would say that even if you spend just like half an hour or an hour just like seeing what LaTeX looks like, producing like following a tutorial to produce a simple PDF document that shows some math, that would be perfectly fine. But also if you didn't do that and you ended up doing that in like the first week of class this September, that would also be perfectly fine.
Great. Yeah. I actually regretted not learning LaTeX first year. I just used Word the entire first year, and then after switching to LaTeX, I realized it's actually easier. You know, and with Word you have to tweak a lot of things, but LaTeX just optimizes everything for you. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And like the documents that you get as a result of LaTeX, I think look way better than anything you could get in Microsoft Word.
Yes, that's true. And I don't think I have any more additional questions. Are there anything you would like to add?
Yeah, I guess I would maybe just want to say for any student who's watching this, like right now, there's obviously a lot of uncertainty in the world, just like overall. No matter where you're living right now, you're probably dealing with some uncertainty related to COVID-19, and that's something that I'm certainly feeling as well. And as some small part of that, Mario and I, in teaching courses next year, we just want you to know that we're taking this really seriously, and we're trying to do our best to plan for kind of like all possible situations for both the fall and the winter semester. So you heard me answer that question about online teaching earlier, and that's definitely something that we're constantly thinking about this summer, and you'll probably hear more from us both throughout the summer and kind of in the fall as well, as things get going. So I guess, I can't promise that it's going to be like an amazing experience, even though I really want it to be an amazing experience because there's just a lot going on right now. But I can promise that Mario and I are going to try as hard as we can to make sure that we give you as good of a learning experience, whether it's in person, fully online, synchronous, asynchronous. whatever it is, we want to kind of do our best to help you learn this year.